Today we're going to talk about 2020 quarterback recruiting, Jordan Burch and D.J. Uiagalelei, and how that has affected the 24/7 sports composite rankings and why. And all that's coming up after the bumper.
What do you mean you don't subscribe to my son's YouTube channel?
Mama, no!
Just snap the damn ball, RJ.
What's up, kid folk? It's RJ Young. I am not on a step mill. Consider hitting the like and subscribe button, because I upload a video every single day. So today, I want to talk about a number of things. One of which is the moving and shaking at the top of the 24/7 sports composite. Another is my man Steve Wiltfong, the director of recruiting for 247 Sports, gave us the skinny on quarterback recruiting in the 2020 class. Quarterback recruiting. What is quarterback recruiting? RJ, get your words correctly. I need to slow down. I need to take my time. I need to talk with you. I need to talk a little bit more eloquently. I've really been getting into my own way, man. That's kind of what's been going on with me. I had the spider incident the other day. I had the jump cutting of the Ethan Downs deal, which really wasn't a deal, which was my fault. But you understand, calls get dropped. We do this thing over the phone. And I'm really working on it because, well, I got this radio show on the Sports Animal, the RJ Young Show from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Central Standard Time. You can stream it online. There's a link in the description below. And I am uploading this video, doing this show, on a day when we have Game 3 of the NBA Finals. Now, I know for a lot of you, you're going to be like, I'm going to fast forward through all of this anyway, RJ, so whatever. Well, I got a couple of things that I wanted to get across. One is Pascal Siakam is absolutely a dude that needs to play like the most improved player in the NBA, because that's not what he looked like in Game 2. You know that. You watched the game. You know he was 5 of 18 from the floor. You know he played 40-plus minutes, and you know that he was basically a time suck. You also know that baby daddy Fred VanVleet was going off 7 of 17 for 17 points, and since having a child, VanVleet has been unconscious, and I expected that man to be dog tired, and all he's done is come out and knock down shots. But Fred VanVleet cannot be your second best scorer if you're the Toronto Raptors. You need Pascal Siakam to be the guy that can carry the load, especially as Kawhi Leonard is doing yeoman's work on both ends of the court. I mean, this dude is getting you 30 points and is taking away the number one options frequently for the Golden State Warriors. When Draymond Green wants to come up there and set that pick and roll, you usually get a switch of Kawhi onto Curry, and you're seeing forehands get in front of Curry. You're seeing them say, no, Stephen Curry, Klay Thompson, they are not going to beat us. We're going to double those guys, and we're going to help off of everybody else. We're going to sprint back. We're trying to help on Draymond Green, and we're going to live with Andre Iguodala being naked behind the three-point line and just jaying in your face. If that's how you're going to lose, that's how you're going to lose. And I agree with that strategy, and I think it could work, especially since the Warriors seem to be the walking wounded, as folks want to say. Steph Curry did not look okay. Klay Thompson has the hamstring issue. Boogie Cousins is basically still just hurt, and the dude ain't really moving up and down the floor like you want him to. I mean, the ball stops when it gets to him. You don't know what's going through Draymond's head half the time. Kayvon Looney probably ain't going to be a go. And you never know what you're going to get out of Kevin Durant, except to say that day to day, Steve Kerr is like, nah, he can't play. And I'm thinking, a calf strain? You can't play because I got to believe it's something else, but he's standing upright. But also, I'm going, who would I really root for as a neutral between Golden State and Toronto? And Drake and Guy Fieri are kind of ruining that for everybody. I get that there's a number of folks that have decided they don't like Drake anymore. Y'all listen to his music, but y'all don't like his quote-unquote antics. And I get that Toronto is actually trying to flex on the United States of America. Like, you know, cool. Y'all one of the most diverse cities in the world according to some metrics. Y'all also got Doug Ford as mayor, who was the brother of Rod Ford, who was smoking crack on television. So slow your roll, Toronto. You don't want these problems. And y'all over there in Oakland, San Francisco, y'all can pipe down too, because the rent is too damn high. I get that it's Silicon Valley, but y'all trying to gentrify the hell out the place if you ain't done it already. And the only folks that can live there are folks like the Golden State Warriors, who are making at the bottom end $1.3 million this year. Jordan Bell is getting $1.3 million. Now he's jaded in your face, but he's still making loot. Andre Iguodala is making $17 million. Jaded in your face, making loot, can afford to live in Oakland. And I'm going, Boogie took a $5 million contract to come up to Oakland. Can he find an apartment? Can he stay up there? I think that the Golden State Warriors are going to win. I picked them to win in 5. That means they got to win 4 straight. We'll see how that goes. They run 1. They got to win 3 more. We'll see how it goes. But I just want to get that off my chest. And now we're going to move on to the next segment.
Are you listening?
Build an argument. This is Sports Talk Radio, not your daddy's Facebook page.
Damn.
Okay, now we're going to talk with my man's Steve Wiltfong about 2020 quarterback recruiting. And he's basically saying, RJ, you take a listen. So I want to know what is going on in Lincoln Riley's head when we talk about 2020 quarterbacks. And I know it's my job, so I wonder about it. Another guy's job it is Director of Recruiting at 247 nationally, Steve Wiltfong. Steve joins us now. Steve, how you doing?
RJ, what's going on, my friend?
Nothing, brother. I appreciate you coming on, man, because this is one of my favorite topics to yell about. What do you think Lincoln Riley's going to do in 2020 at quarterback?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know because the one guy that they've offered, right, that hasn't committed is Chad Morris' son, right?
Right.
And we feel good about Arkansas there. Right.
For obvious reasons.
Been wrong before, but Chad Morris knows the kid's mom pretty well.
Well, and that's kind of the thing that I was trying to get across to most folks is, the top uncommitted quarterback in this class that also feels like he fits Oklahoma's Haynes King. And it's gonna you had some things to say earlier on the 247 recruiting podcast about Haynes King, and you were basically given your low confidence pick, but just from an evaluation standpoint, how do you feel about him?
Well, we love Haynes King. Obviously he's an undefeated state champion quarterback last year that completed it at a high percentage for a lot of yards and didn't turn the ball over. It's a multi-sport standout. His dad's his high school coach, so you like the intangibles with him. But I'm not stressing over Lincoln Riley and quarterbacks in Oklahoma. I mean, the last 2 starters went number 1 in the draft, and I guess he inherited them in a way, but they hit on the transfer market. You got Jalen Hurts in there, and you land the best quarterback in the country, in my opinion, last year in Spencer Rattler. I'm not in any kind of panic about what's going on with quarterbacks at Oklahoma right now.
Well, you bring up some very good points that have been brought up here locally many times over, which is, hey, RG, you're crazy for wondering aloud what Lincoln Riley's going to do at quarterback. And I, of all people, understand that. But in this new age where the transfer portal seems like a good way to get a quarterback, and we're also seeing, with regularity, 2 quarterbacks go in 1 class, I just wonder, is it possible that Lincoln could say, you know what, we don't really need a 2020 quarterback?
Well, I think if I look at the roster right now, you got Jalen Hurts, you got Tanner Mordecai, who's promising. Has Tanner Mordecai been promising?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Close? Right. So you got Tanner Mordecai, who had a really big senior year himself. And then you have Spencer Rattler. So you have 3 guys on the roster. I think that they need to take one this cycle from a number standpoint. I don't know what their plan is or who they're going after, or maybe they land the Morris kid. The crystal ball says otherwise on 24/7 Sports. But from a number standpoint, I definitely get your concern. It's hard for me to panic about it right now,
No, and that's...
I do think that they would be transfer destination U if need be, but at some point they're going to look. They've only taken they took Jalen Hurts kind of maybe because Tanner's young and Spencer hasn't even taken a college snap yet, and really Tanner's a redshirt too, so neither of them have. So you need to get some experience in your room and get a guy that's played under the lights. But you're hopeful that Tanner or Spencer gets developed, and then, I think they need to take one for numbers so they can have 3 on scholarship next year.
Right.
And you got to figure Oklahoma's going to win a lot of these games big, so Tanner and or Spencer, they're going to get an opportunity to play this year. With the new redshirt rule, you can play Spencer in 4 games and not lose a year if need be, although we ranked him in a position where I don't think he needs 5 years.
And that's the worry also is, can you hold on to both of them in the age of the portal when a lot of kids just they want to play in their first 2-3 years, and you might have other like you saw Austin Kendall. He said, you know what, I'm not going to stay here and compete with Jalen Hurts. I'm going to go where I'm going to play. I did my time. I want to go. I want to be a starter. I also was looking at
on the flip side of that, though, RJ, Oklahoma is the one place where Lincoln Riley can point to and say, Kyler Murray waited his turn, got drafted even high. He got drafted number 1 overall, won the Heisman Trophy himself. So he can point to that and say there is some upside to waiting your turn here, and then it's up to, and it sounds by all accounts he's a player's coach, and those guys are bought in and waited because the grass wasn't greener for Kyler to go elsewhere, took a team to the playoffs, and really outside of a horrendous first quarter, they were in that ball game, and it is what it is, but they weren't outclassed. They just didn't play well early, and so I just think they need to find someone from a number standpoint, but I still like the talent in the room 1 through 3.
Is really good, and you're doing a very good job of making the listeners feel very good about what OU is doing at quarterback. And I wanted to just one last question before you go. 2021 for me looks really good. Brock Vandegrift released the top 6 earlier this morning. He has an OU offer. Another guy that just kind of popped up, took a visit that I really enjoyed just watching this huddle film was Caleb Williams. If you give just short evaluation about those two guys.
Well, Brock Vandegrift's the only guy that Oklahoma's offered right now in 2021, so he's obviously the Sooners' top target right now, and he's kind of the prototype frame for the position of guys we're seeing now in that 6'2", 6'3" range with a little bit of a thickness to him. I had a really good sophomore year and showed a lot of trait, and he's a guy that's got dual threat ability, which you have to have in Lincoln Riley's offense. And I saw Caleb Williams myself a couple weeks ago at the opening regional and thought he was terrific and would be a dynamic player at Oklahoma as well. He's the number 2 dual threat quarterback in the country in our rankings. And he's visiting Georgia this week. He's a guy that he plays at Washington, D.C. Gonzaga, one of the most competitive high school football divisions out there, and the opposing coaches rave about Caleb Williams. So his recruitment, I think he was very high on Clemson at one point. They get D.J. Uiagalelei in 2020. I don't think that Clemson is in a great spot anymore. Ohio State was in a really good spot for Caleb Williams, but they already have 2021 quarterback Kyle McCord. We'll see if Oklahoma pursues Caleb. They're obviously in it for Vandegrift, and we'll see what happens. That
is Steve Wiltfong, Director of Recruiting for 247 Sports. Also can say DJ's last name correctly. It takes me practice. I still screw it up. Steve, thanks so much for this, man.
Y'all take care. RJ, appreciate you having me on. We'll see you guys over on OU Insider.
Yeah, man. There he is, plugging it. I like it.
Yeah. Bye-bye, guys.
Thanks. So that was Steve Wiltfong. He was on my show on The Animal. Airs 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. The RJ Young Show. I would really enjoy it if you listen along. We talk college football. We talk recruiting. We also talk stuff like the NBA. We talked about softball because locally, well, it's a big deal. Shout out to the Sooners. I understand y'all didn't go out the way that y'all wanted to go out. You didn't go out the way I wanted to go out. I also understand that you ran into a freight train that was UCLA softball. It wasn't like they gave it away. UCLA was just the better team. Not just the better team. They were skull dragging in that first game. 16-3. 16. Like, I remember when OU fans was finding out on Twitter that there's no mercy rule in the championship series. I'm like, yes, the championship series. Why would you want a mercy rule? Why would you think that you need one? And UCLA was not taking its foot off the gas. Said, no, you're going to get the full dose of this here, player. Came back the next day, hitting dingers. Giselle Juarez giving up back-to-back home runs to start the game 2. Can't happen. And if you do it, you got to bean somebody. You got to give them the sweet chin music. You got to remind them, get off your plate, establish dominance. It kind of happened. It kind of slowed down. Shea Knight came up big in the bottom of the 6th, got a home run to tie the game. Top of the 7th, not bottom of the 6th, top of the 7th, to tie the game. with a home run. And then Rachel Garcia basically said, cool, whatever, I'm going to keep pitching. And then you get Kinsley Washington to get walk-off fashion. They win the 2019 Women's College World Series. They are the national champs. Rachel Garcia went undefeated in the circle, 9-0, an ERA of 1.49. Look, there's a reason why she's one of just 2 collegiate softball players who's going to play on Team USA this summer and probably stands an outside chance of making the Team USA that's going to play for Olympic gold in 2020. And I got to say, I was impressed. Like, I didn't want to get blindsided by my, affinity for the University of Oklahoma, particularly its softball team, by, saying Rachel Garcia ain't nobody. And she's legend. She legend. She that good. And I shout out to her legendary pitching coach, Lisa Fernandez, who also called one hell of a game. Now, I kind of want to segue into recruiting because I kind of dig it. It's kind of my job. I like the moving and the shaking. I like getting to see prospects up close. I go to a bunch of high school football games here locally, and it's absolutely one of the things that I love because it's the lifeblood of my favorite sport, which is college football. Now, at the top, 247 Sports Composite. We got a new number 1. Was Zach Evans, running back. He has fallen precipitously down the rankings because the Rivals did some restructuring. And their new number 1 is Clemson quarterback commit D.J. Uiagalelei. And DJ is a 6'4", 240-pound cannon thrower. Like, that dude absolutely is going to be one of the top quarterbacks in college football one day. Now, I feel like we said that about Kyle Wright. I understand why some of y'all like, look, RJ, it's recruiting. I don't really care till they get to where they're going. Even when they get to where they're going, they don't necessarily turn into the kind of guys that you recruiting dudes say that they're going to be. Cool. We're right more often than we're wrong. And at the top, yeah, we're right much more often than we're wrong. But I would understand why you would be like, let me just wait till DJ gets to Clemson. He's still got another year to play as a senior in high school. He was down to Oregon and Clemson as top 2. He went with the national champs. He's going to follow up probably Trevor Lawrence as their prohibitive favorite to be the starting quarterback when Trevor Lawrence decides to go into the NFL draft in 2021. So you get at least 1 year of sitting there and waiting your turn, if not 2 years of sitting there and waiting your turn if you DJ Uiagalelei. But because he was moved to number 1 and Jordan Burch rose higher, I want to say it's number 3. And now we got to get research on that. Research is actually, just my laptop and my computer. So we got Jordan Burch at number 1, 247 composite. We got Brian Breeze at number 2. We got Justin Flo at number 3, and so forth, so on. Julian Fleming, newest commit to Ohio State, number 1 wide receiver in the country. That's actually pretty cool. You got Zach Evans at number 6 in the 247 composite. And then, as I was saying, in the Rivals 100, you got DJ Uiagalelei at 1. You got Justin Flo at 2. And you got Jordan Burch at 3. And because Jordan Burch rose from 10 to 3, that's how he's the new number 1 in the 247 composite as Rivals did its re-ranking, which affects the industry-wide of 247 Sports, ESPN, and Rivals when we're talking about the composite, right? And we recognize 247 composite as the end-all, be-all because it takes into account all 3 of the major recruiting services and says, all right, this is what their aggregate score would be. Now, before I get into what I like about Jordan Burch, and I like a lot, I gotta say Justin Flo might end up at the top of this list. Okay? Justin Flo is just that dude out of Upland, California, 6'3", 225 pounds, and true blue inside linebacker and an absolute bully. Like, he's the kind of dude that when he shows up to camps, I've seen guys leave the lines that he's in because they don't want to go up against him in drills. And it's not really that they don't want to be challenged or be competitive. It's that Justin Flo is a bully, and he'll be out there kind of dirty. Like, he'll legitimately go tackle people in what is supposed to be non-contact drills or tap drills or no pad drills because that's just how he's built. And you're really not going to tell him. They call the dude baby man. All right? Like, that's what kind of dude we got. We're talking about a dude who is legitimately the kind of cat that really would go around saying that he's baby man. And I get that you want to debo it when you're an inside linebacker, but maybe I'm going to say that there's not really a place for it in camps, but I also understand why if you're a recruiting analyst or you're a college football coach, you like baby man because that dude's physical and he's going to get after it. I kind of think the comp is Vontaze Burfict in both the good and the bad ways, but we'll just have to wait and see on that because Vontaze Burfict is actually I wouldn't want Vontaze Burfict on my team. I would want Justin Flo on my team because I think Justin Flo knows where the line is. He knows when he's being competitive and when he's just asserting his will. Now, with Jordan Burch, this is the best prospect to come out of South Carolina in a very long time. Out of Columbus, went to Hammond High School, goes to Hammond High. He's 6'6", 255 pounds, okay? Last dude I saw that big that was just running and terrorizing people was the one Jadeveon Clowney who ended up at the top of the rankings. And yeah, Burch plays DN. He also plays running back. But what I find interesting about this dude is you don't need like the little huddle spotter. You don't need a little arrow to point down to him and let you know where he is. He's literally bigger than everybody else. Easy dude to spot. He takes 2 steps in one direction. He makes a tackle. He's that large. His stride is that long. And I get that he's fast, but what's, again, just the reach. Just reaching out and touching people. And he's got what's normally is a 6-minute huddle film highlight for most dudes, even good dudes, like top recruits. His are 20 minutes long. 20-minute huddle film. Because he's playing both ways, and he's making all the plays. So I'm going, yeah, man. I watched all of 2 minutes for this, and I was like, okay, so this is going to be just a gag reel for everybody who's not Jordan Burch, because you should not be able to do the things that this man is able to do, and yet that's why he's the number 1 overall recruit in the 247 composite today. We'll see if he ends up there. But one of the things that I need to just express to you, for folks that don't understand how recruiting works and you want to know what the rankings were, when you talk about the number 1 overall recruit, that's dude that they say check all the boxes, which is cliche. He's bigger than everybody else. He's stronger than everybody else. He's faster than everybody else. And he has great football technique. That's what the number 1 prospect in the country is going to look like. Some of that you can coach, a lot of it you cannot, and that's really what recruiting is about. That's why you have several different classifications, including ATH, which is athlete, which says, hey, we don't know if you're going to be playing offense or defense. We just know that we trust you to do either one pretty well. And with him, where he's classified as fits in, would not be hard to see him moving inside and being a 3 technique at a place like Clemson, at a place like Alabama, at a place like Georgia, and because he's the number 1 recruit in the country, he is now the top uncommitted prospect in the 247 Sports Composite as the end-all, be-all number 1. So Oklahoma fans continue to drool about this man and what he might mean if he decided to entertain Oklahoma. But I'm here to tell you, I don't see that happening, dog. I just don't see it happening. All right, that is it for me. Doses.